Tells us they've known two of the suspects for years. 8 on Your Side's Jeff Patterson is joining us now live from Frostproof tonight, and not good here at all, Jeff, the encounter between all of these folks in the past.
Very, very unfortunate, Keith. This is the site of the murder, a dirt road near a lake in a very remote section of Polk County here. Frostproof is a very small community where even one of the victims' families says they know the accused killers.
We knew TJ. We didn't know him personally, but we knew the Wiggins boys, and we never liked them.
Jessica Steenson cannot hold back her tears or her anger when talking about her boyfriend, Brandon Rollins' murder.
But we never knew he would ever do this.
Brandon Rollins' father came to the scene of his son's murder and held him as he died. Today, the family watched as Sheriff Grady Judd explained how Brandon Rollins, Kevin Springfield, and Damon Tillman were killed and who he believes is responsible. Cyril Rollins had nothing good to say about accused killer T.J. Wiggins.
It's the way they raise, you know what I mean? If they follow the father and mother, that's the way they're going to raise.
Brandon's mother says she's known T.J. Wiggins for most of his life.
He was always a rough kid, always in trouble.
Dottie Payton tells 8 on Your Side she suspected from the beginning who is responsible.
I had suspicion, means knowing. My son just was there at the wrong time. And
the family strongly suspects drugs are to blame.
They're drug heads, and they could have been high out their mind. Who knows?
Polk County Sheriff's Charities are now collecting money for the victims' families. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd telling 8 on Your Side, not only are they dealing with the deaths, they're now trying to deal with funeral expenses that they cannot afford. Polk County Sheriff's Charities collecting for that, and of course 8 on Your Side wants to help, so we will put information about that on WFLA.com. Reporting live in Frostproof, Jeff Patterson, 8 on Your Side.
Just awful. Thank you, Jeff. An earlier version of it.
And accused of killing the son of federal judge in New Jersey and shooting her husband has been found dead. Police say the shooter showed up at the North Brunswick home of the judge dressed as a FedEx driver, and when the son answered the door, he opened fire. The husband of Judge Esther Salas is now in critical condition. She was in the basement of the home and is unarmed. But again, the suspect that police are telling us has been found dead, and they're saying by suicide. New Jersey reporter Toni Yates joining us live from North Brunswick with the late breaking news. Toni.
Yes, David, we're just getting that news, too, that the suspect may have committed suicide. Now, this was a shooting that happened in broad daylight in a very quiet neighborhood against a well-respected family. The mayor of North Brunswick, Francis Womack, said he was listening to the police scanners. He heard the call about the shooting here on Point of Woods Drive, and he says he immediately reached out to the judge's husband.
Mark's a good friend of mine, and Mark texts me all the time. So I just sent a text message. I said, Mark, you okay? Everything all right over there? Because there's only a few people who live on Point of Woods Drive. I got no answer, and if you don't get an answer back from Mark within a few minutes, you know something's wrong.
U.S. Marshals are now giving 24-hour protection to federal judge Esther Salas. Her 20-year-old son Daniel shot and killed. Her husband, defense attorney Mark Andrel, shot several times, but he is expected to survive. The shooting happened at the couple's home Sunday at about 5 in the afternoon. Police say a man dressed in a FedEx shirt, his face covered, rang the bell. The judge's husband answered the door. The suspect fired. A neighbor may have heard the moment that shooting happened.
I hear the gunshots, but I didn't realize there was a crime or whatever, so I didn't pay attention. I said somebody was playing, so I got in my car. I saw a car just across the street, and he drove away.
So far, police have no motive. They are not saying yet if they know who in the family was the target or why. Daniel was shot right after his father. The judge was in the basement of the home and was not injured. The shooting has left this North Brunswick neighborhood saddened and worried.
I would have never expected this at all. They were such a beautiful family, and everyone here is so close. We wouldn't even expect something like this to happen.
Once again, the breaking news in this story is that the suspect was found dead, apparently from a self-inflicted gun wound. We will definitely have more on that coming up later this afternoon. Condolences for the judge's family pouring in from law enforcement and from elected officials across the state.
Ended up dead, killed by an oncoming train in Harlem. It all started with a fight between two women and a man when the Good Samaritan tried to step in to help. Naveen Dhaliwal live in Harlem with new developments. Naveen?
Yeah, Sade, police are still searching for that suspect. They say was in a fight with this Good Samaritan. This happened here at the 125th and Lenox Avenue train station. Now, the train station back open at this hour, but it was closed for a few hours after police say a man's good intentions ended up costing his life. A routine subway ride coming to a halt as riders were rushed off the 2 train in Harlem to a horrifying sight.
There was a man with his head and his torso wedged between the train and the walkway.
Commuters shaken as they made their exit.
Half of his body was inside and half of it was, and his head was also inside.
Police say that man was a Good Samaritan trying to intervene in a fight between 2 women and a man at the 125th and Lenox Avenue southbound platform this afternoon. An altercation that caused him to fall as the train was approaching.
Oh God, it was horrible. It was disgusting. Yeah. So it's like, all I want to do now is get some more protection.
The man's injury so grave, he didn't survive.
I saw the plastic bag, the black plastic bag already over him, meaning that he was already dead. And that's what everything hit me.
As emergency crews arrived, police closed off the station entrances as riders stared on in disbelief.
It's sad that it happened to him. There's a few people around me that were crying and stuff like that, and like children and stuff like that. It's senseless.
And again, that suspect is still on the run. As far as those 2 women, investigators say they are cooperating.
For a man who is wanted in a horrifying assault, police say he attacked a 2-year-old boy, slashing him on the face yesterday morning as that boy was out with his nanny. Eyewitness News reporter Naveen Dhaliwal speaking to the young victim's father. She's live in Morningside Heights with these disturbing details. Naveen.
Yeah, Mike, this is just awful, and this family very shaken up, and it happened in this vicinity. We're talking 110th and Morningside Drive, the entrance to Morningside Park right there. And I've been watching families throughout the day, young families with young children and strollers, and they say they haven't seen anything like this or heard of anything like this happen here. But yesterday, this nanny, along with this 2-year-old, attacked by this guy with a sharp object. This is the man police are looking for. In surveillance video, he's seen first walking anxiously and then running, covering his face. Moments after detectives say he attacked a 2-year-old on the streets.
My wife is horrified. My son is very nervous and also under stress.
The father of that boy speaking out. He says his son was on a routine walk on 110th and Morningside Drive around 9:30 Wednesday morning with the nanny when this man lunged at the toddler.
She told me that some guy leaned over the stroller, caught my son, and then she immediately notified 911. She notified my wife.
No words were exchanged, but that little boy was slashed, taken to the hospital, and now recovering at home from stitches above the right eye.
It's so sad to hear that.
Nikki Rojas, the mother of a 1- and 7-year-old, walks this area often and saw detectives placing reward flyers hoping to get a tip. Now she and other local parents are on the edge.
2-year-old, oh my God. I'm so worried for my kids too.
We don't wear headsets. We teach them the best we can, but I don't really know how you would prepare for something like that.
Yeah, many people here live here just shaking their heads tonight. And again, that little 2-year-old boy is expected to make a full recovery. The nanny not hurt. And tonight, police tell us that this appears to be a random attack.
New video this morning showing a man swinging his fists at 2 women in the Mountain section of the Bronx. It happened last Thursday. This is at the Happy Land Buffet on Jerome Avenue. Police say prior to the attack, the 2 victims got into an argument with this woman who is also accused of punching one of them in the face. The surveillance video was released in hopes of finding their attackers.
A manhunt is now underway for the gunman who killed a man in a Brooklyn bike store. Investigators say 23-year-old Nicholas Isaac got into an argument with the gunman. It happened on Saturday on Nostrand Avenue in Crown Heights. The suspect then shot Isaac. When Isaac ran into the store for cover, the man followed him and killed him. The suspect was seen fleeing on a black scooter.
Outside of a grocery store in Chelsea today, caught on camera. It happened when a man grabbed a hammer and started swinging, bashing a store manager in the head. Tonight, the victim is recounting the harrowing moments to Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger.
It's just one swing, one vicious swing of a hammer, but it carved a deep gash in Ramon Acevedo's head.
That's what I have to show.
For nearly half a century, the supermarket manager has worked for Gristedes. This morning, as he opened the store at 25th and 9th, he saw someone he knew all too well, seemingly waiting for him.
He was just standing there looking hard. So that's why I said, let me take a picture of this guy. This guy looks like he's ready to do something. And he was.
Cops are now reviewing this surveillance video, which shows how, with no provocation, the man picked up a hammer and attacked. Acevedo says the man is a regular problem at his store. He's been arrested a number of times, including for assaulting a cashier. Throughout the pandemic, people like Ray Acevedo have carried our city on their backs. He's worked 6 days a week to keep New Yorkers stocked. Surely, he didn't deserve this.
I should be able to go to work and do what I'm asked to do and be safe. It's in New York City in 2020. It reminds me of the 80s and the 70s, which I would live through. I intend to live through this also.
Because he's been arrested here a couple times before, sources say cops do know who this guy is, and tonight they're looking for him. As for Ray, all he really wants is to go back to...
Dramatic video of a shootout involving a Maserati in a Bronx neighborhood. The NYPD releasing video of the incident, which took place last month on West 171st Street near Ogden Avenue in Highbridge. The shootout involved two groups of men. Nobody got hurt, but there was damage to the rear door, window, and bedroom wall of a nearby apartment building. As of now, there have been no arrests.
Homicide victim. At the end of last week in Chicago, murders were up 51%, shootings were up 44%, 47% actually. And despite those staggering numbers, Mayor Lori Lightfoot has presided over a city that has turned into the Wild West. Now, let me make this as clear as I can make it tonight. It's open season on the citizens of Chicago, and the mayor cannot be bothered to accept real federal help. You know why? Because of her seething hatred for Donald Trump. That is outweighing her concern for the citizens that she is supposed to be serving. Now, the head of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police was here tonight to react to Mayor Lori Lightfoot's refusal to accept federal help, but will instead react to this story. John Canizera joins me now exclusively. John, are you as unhinged as Mayor Lightfoot says you are? See, she's putting it on you, Mr. Canizera. That's what she's doing, putting it on you. And maybe it's Fox or it's Trump or everyone but looking in the mirror and also going after the criminals.
Well, good evening, Laura. Thanks for having me. First of all, the mayor likes to use the word unhinged. The ironic part is that the mayor became unhinged. I wish I could show you the text messages that she sent me over the weekend as soon as she found out that I had sent the request to President Trump. I mean, she was the one who became totally unhinged, unprofessional, childish. It was really pathetic for a leader of a city.
Well, right now we have carnage as far as the eye can see. We don't know what will happen. We certainly hope we don't have deaths out of these injuries. But it looked pretty wild out there in the scene that they were showing. This is outside of a funeral home. So if you're going to shoot outside of a funeral home where there was some signage about the funeral they had on the street, and apparently there was some police presence somewhere on the scene, you've gotten really bold, haven't you, John? You're pretty bold at that point as a criminal. You're not worried.
Well, like Sean's guest just said, the bold is there because they know there's no consequences. The justice system in Cook County is totally broken, all the way from the President Preckwinkle to Kim Fox, the prosecutor, to Tom Dart, the sheriff, to Tim Evans, the chief judge. They have no idea what real justice is. And that's basically the bloodbath in the street is the result.
Well, Lori Lightfoot, just to bring people into this back and forth, to put it politely, John, between you and Lightfoot, this is what she said. Everyone watch.
We've got an unhinged leader of the Fraternal Order of Police who is craven and trying to generate attention. This is a dangerous road for us to go down. We're not going to have people that don't know our streets engaging in clearly unconstitutional conduct, operating at will in our city. That is chaos. That is lawlessness.
That's chaos. What we're seeing tonight wasn't chaos, but you're wanting federal help? And actual assistance is chaos. This woman doesn't know her own city. Okay, it's a travesty. I thought I was mad about other things tonight, given what's going on in this country. But this is an outrage. It's a great American city. It's being disserved by her. She's a radical. They need to toss her out of office. John, go ahead.
She's literally running the Titanic into an iceberg intentionally. 56 rounds fired, I'm told, and 17 people shot tonight at a funeral where there was police. Obviously, special attention because of the gang victim that was already being waked at the funeral home. You know, the irony about her not knowing the city streets and the federal officers, and this isn't a knock on Superintendent Brown, because I really like Superintendent Brown, but she just hired an outsider who didn't know the city, who didn't know the streets. So what's the difference? Again, she's a big hypocrite. She has a bit of a Napoleon complex. If you don't agree with her, heaven forbid.
Well, if funeral attendees, I understand, returned fire on the vehicle. So these were all gangbangers, right? I mean, this is, if you had to just sum it up and for us, I mean, you conjecture at this point, we need to know more. But people are firing on each other. We called it the Wild West. This is a killing field in Chicago. And we're complaining about Trump. Are you kidding me? Talk about blame shifting, putting it on you and the Fraternal Order of Police. Or the cops on the beat? What the heck are the cops supposed to do when they have no support from City Hall? What are they supposed to do?
You highlighted the obviously increase in shootings and murders, but Superintendent Brown basically said yesterday that the police department has recovered 5,400 guns so far this year off the streets of Chicago. Now, as he properly highlighted, that's 5,400 deadly encounters that the men and women of the police department have dealt with over the first 6 months of this year, and not a single person, well, I shouldn't say not a single person, I think there's only been 3 shootings that resulted in death. But my point is, how many more guns or how many more murders would occur if those guns weren't taken off the street? And more importantly, there's a lot of people that were arrested with those guns that were immediately let back out on the street again. And it goes right back to Kim Foxx and the broken county jail system.
This is the revolving door of so-called criminal justice reform. Someone's arrested on a Monday, they're released on Tuesday morning, they get their criminal defender, their public defender, and we're crying about how unfair the system is. And I just want to, and if everyone's just joining us tonight, there was a disturbing scene in Chicago a few hours ago at a funeral where we had 14 people shot, many in the hospital. People were returning fire from the funeral to the cars that were going off in different directions, apparently that were responsible for the shootings, coming from multiple directions, the reports we're getting tonight, John. And at the same time as this is happening tonight, we have utter lawlessness in another great American city of Portland, Oregon. And we have people in Portland, Oregon who are telling the media not to cover it, because that tells a very distorted story, and people are covering it because they want to hurt people politically. No, we want to cover it because we want to save lives, property, and livelihoods. What will happen if AOC and the gang get their way with Biden and the whole crowd and defund the police? Because this is defund and dismantle the police movements across this country. John, is tonight's scene going to be repeated across urban America?
Well, I don't know about urban America, but Chicago's pretty unique to anywhere else in the country. I've said it time and time again that we're approximately, New York is 2.5 times the size population-wise to Chicago, but we have 40% more murders than the whole city of New York. Just let that sink in. I mean, there is a lawless mindness set in this city where, they just do whatever they want because there is no repercussion, there is no accountability. This is piggybacking on Friday night's scene where there was a large group of officers trying to protect a Christopher Columbus statue that was being attempted to be pulled down. 52 officers were injured in that melee, and they want to pretend like this was just a handful of anarchists that embedded themselves in this protest. The protesters knew that this was going to happen. They protected these people until they went down. And we talk about accountability, lastly, just this point. So accountability, they cry that police officers don't speak out, the thin blue line. They protect bad behavior. What about all those good protesters who stood there and watched these anarchists hurl fireworks, frozen water, bricks at officers and did nothing? They did nothing.
I'm tired of the line that they're all the good protesters. You shouldn't be out throwing stuff at police or standing by other people who are throwing stuff at police, okay? Shouldn't be pulling down statues. They're not your property. If you want to take down a statue, go the legal way and petition your local alderman and do it that way. Don't put ropes around statues and pull them down, okay? That's thuggish behavior, and we're tolerating it in Chicago and all across this country. It's a broken window.
Once the epicenter of the pandemic, today only reported 2 new deaths. But elsewhere in the country, the pandemic continues to spiral out of control. 10 new states were added to New York, New Jersey's quarantine list. Connecticut is expected to follow suit. A total of 31 states are now on that list. Minnesota has dropped off. Governor Cuomo also giving new details about his crackdown on bars that violate social distancing policies. He says the state has suspended 27 licenses, including some establishments in our area. Eyewitness News reporter Dave Evans is live this afternoon in Astoria with details. Dave?
Sandy, as you mentioned, the governor today began with some good news, saying that only 2 people died in all of New York yesterday from coronavirus. And that is a record low number since all this began. But then he turned to bars and restaurants and announced that 4 local establishments are having their liquor licenses revoked. That includes Brick Bar here on Steinway in Astoria. They are still open, but they can only serve food, takeout food only. As for liquor, for right now, none at all. The governor has warned us many times before, even at one point saying, "Don't make me come down there." He's been alarmed with what he's seen in the city, and this weekend in Astoria, it was out of control. So today, Governor Cuomo brought the hammer down, suspending the liquor license of 4 restaurants and bars, 3 in Queens and 1 on Long Island.
And this is now a significant problem, and local governments have not been doing the enforcement.
The governor today said bar owners just don't get it, that the rules were relaxed for restaurants and for outdoor dining, but not for bars serving liquor only.
Now, I understand bars are under terrific economic pressure, as are many other organizations, and they took this outdoor dining as an opportunity to do outdoor drinking. But that's not what the regulations intended, right?
The governor's also warned city and county governments to crack down on out-of-control bars on the weekend, but so far that really hasn't happened. Neighbors along Steinway today said they welcome the governor's get tough attitude.
But the pictures I saw on social media indicated that things are way out of hand. It looked like a big block party.
Does that worry you?
Of course. New York has done such a good job of squashing corona.
I think it's irresponsible of the business owners to be greedy and to let people just get out of hand. I think they should listen to the governor's advice and we should stay safe.
And also today, the governor added 10 lists to the number of states where you have to quarantine if you come from one of those states into New York or New Jersey. Those states added today included states like Missouri, Washington State, also Nebraska. That brings to 31 the number of states that you have to quarantine once you do come into New York or New Jersey. Minnesota, by the way, they were dropped off that list today because the number of coronavirus